So, as I'm sure we are all aware, there has been a huge amount of chaos this week, and a lot of very popular players are injured. So, let's run through those real quick. Jason Horne-Francis has done his hamstring, and he will be out for 4 weeks according to the AFL injury list. Jack McRae has got a punctured lung, and he will be out for 2 to 3 weeks apparently, so he might be back round 14 after his bye, although I would have thought that injury would have had him out for longer. Finn Callahan has dislocated his shoulder, which has him out for 3 to 4 weeks. Tom De Koning still has that larynx, although he might be back this week or next. And Jaden Short has a calf injury, which will have him out for 1 to 2 weeks. So all of these guys are popular, and I would bet that 90% of you have at least two. Most likely McRae and Horne-Francis. So all of them should go. The priorities are probably Callahan and Horne-Francis because they are out the longest, but they all need to go. So this actually makes our trades really easy because they are forced. Get these guys out and just see how much cash that leaves you with to do your trades. Don't overcomplicate it. And also, Kitty Coleman has pulled up sore, so he might not play either. When it comes to the trade-ins, you are still looking for value picks and to better your buy structures by having an even amount of premiums on each buy, if not slightly weighted towards the later buys. So with that out of the way, we will go through all of the best value trade-in targets. Again, I am going to skip over the round 12 buy because I just think we are already quite heavy on this buy. And at this point, you might as well wait and trade these guys in round 13. Because they will have a bye after this week. And when it comes to round 13, I would say if there's someone you want, this is the last week you can get them, and otherwise, you should just wait until after their bye. The first guy I want to talk about is Jack Sinclair, who went really big last week with 139. He was really cheap, but his price is heading upwards now, so Sinclair is the cheapest right now than he will be for a long time again. He is likely a top 6 defender, or at least close to that mark, so to get him for $950,000 is the definition of value. The other thing I really like about Sinclair is that last week it looked like he had that halfback role all to himself, with Wanganeen Malera pushing up the ground to do more damage up there. With that said, the Saints got pumped by the Eagles, so who knows if that all sticks. Also on the round 13 bye is the one rookie who I'm really keen on this week, and that is Cooper Simpson for the Dockers, who has been playing on the halfback and has scored a 59 and a 64 while looking really solid. He has a break-even of -9 and might be the best rookie we get in a long while, which is why I'm so keen on him. He's priced just over $300,000, and if he scores another 60, he will go up another $60,000, so it's probably the last week you can get him in. The final guy on this buy who I want to talk about is Matais Philippou, who I unfortunately got last week. If I had gone down to Simpson instead, it would have been the greatest trade because I could have banked cash to get up to some good premiums this week, but now I can't. Anyway, the Pooh really let me down last week, scoring 50 as he got played just 59% of the game, which is something Ross Lyon likes to do and also something I will never understand. He only got 2 centre bounces, so although we are crying out for cheaper options, he's someone I would avoid if I had the option. Now then, let's have a look at round 14, which has Richmond, Sydney, Gold Coast and Collingwood on it. We have 2 guys from Sydney who people would be considering as they are quite cheap. They are Isaac Heaney and Chad Warner, who are both still priced under $900,000 and capable of going around 100, maybe even more. Warner has forward status, which would probably be appealing for most people, while Heaney is a straight mid. So if you need a forward, it's definitely Warner first, but otherwise I think Heaney might just have slightly better scoring abilities, but it's tight. You could maybe look at like an Anderson or something from the Suns, but there's probably not too many guys on this buy to look at. The same can be said for round 15, where there's Rankin, Dawson, Petrarca, and not much else. I guess Gawn too, and maybe Bowie. You probably aren't trading any of these guys in. Maybe the Crows, and I guess I'm sort of looking at Dawson as an option against the Eagles. And Rankin is still a top 6 forward to me, so you could definitely still bring him in if you need a forward. And finally on the round 16 bye, there are actually a lot of options I think. The teams are Essendon, Giants, Brisbane and Geelong by the way. The most traded in guy is Nick Martin, who I got a while back now, and he's priced just over $1 million. He has defender and forward status, which makes him great. And with the Richmond matchup this week, he is a great pick. As I've said before, if he's not a top 6 defender, he's a top 6 forward and vice versa. Definitely a good target. I actually think Zach Merritt could be a good pick too. He obviously scored the 50 last week, so he'll be really cheap in a few weeks. However, there are two reasons that make me like him now. First of all, if he's cheap in a few weeks, we won't want to get him because he'll still have a bye coming up, and we'd have to get him in round 17 instead. By this point, he might not even be that cheap anymore. The other reason is that he has Richmond just like Martin. In this matchup, he surely goes huge and he might not even be that far off his 150 break even. He goes huge against Richmond in these games and even scored a 158 in 2023. For the Giants, you might be looking at Ash or Whitfield if you need a defender, but they probably don't present value. Tom Green could be a good one though. He was already a good option. But now that Callahan is out, there's a chance he could go on a run and start putting up some really big scores. And there might still be a few points of value with him. Then maybe there's guys like Zorko, Holmes, Dunkley, who you could look at, but none really stand out, and all have flags. I also wouldn't look at Coleman this week, as there's a good chance he doesn't even play. So those are pretty much all the best targets I can think of. Sinclair, Heaney, Warner, Martin and Simpson are probably the main value guys, unless you go up to a more expensive premium. So looking at my trades now, and it's not 100% set. McRae and Horne-Francis will both be going, and I have two options for my trade-ins. I can use DPP to get Sinclair and one of the Swans. Probably Warner for the forward status, even though I don't trust him fully. This is pretty good, but the issue is I really want Cooper Simpson a lot. I know I can still get him next week, but he's such a good rookie and his price will go up heaps. If I did that, I could then get in Dawson for the Eagles matchup or stick with Sinclair. I think I can't afford to put an extra rookie on field, so I'll have to go Sinclair and Warner from these two. I'll just have to get Simpson next week, it seems, although he will have a bye coming up. This could change, so I'm not locking it in completely just yet. Anyway, now let's look at some captains, and it should be pretty easy this week. The VC has to go on Bailey Smith. He's averaging 120 and coming up against his old side in a very hyped game. You just have to believe that he comes out and goes huge. If they tag him, he will tackle. He will mark. He will rack up. I see no way he goes under 110 barring an injury. And then for the C, there are still plenty of options. Nick Martin or Zach Merritt on Friday night should go well, particularly Merritt. Whitfield will do all right against Carlton. I'd back in Tristan Xerri for another good one against the Pies on Saturday. And then you have guys like Rosie, Dawson and Gawn, who should all go well there. I'll just be doing Smith into Xerri, which is a pretty safe option and should go well. That's all I have for today, I'm afraid, so with that said, I'll be back on Monday.